Let's bring in Susie Grinnell, CEO and President of the Hotel Association of Canada. Clearly a space that has been under pressure, Susie. As we look at this resurgence of the virus, new restrictions coming into play, what's your message to the government in terms of the help that your industry needs?
Well, what we're really seeing here is, on the one hand, we've got businesses that have had 5 and 10% revenue loss that are being supported by the government. And on the other hand, you've got the other end of the spectrum, you've got businesses that have been sitting virtually closed since March because of ongoing restrictions. So I'm talking here about mass gathering restrictions. This is the core of our business in the tourism, hospitality, and travel sectors. And we've not been able to operate. And so we do believe that we're in a different category than most other business sectors out there, and that we need a tailored solution from government to deal with our crisis.
Now, you were a part of that Senate testimony and your association. Are you concerned? I've talked to some business leaders that it's great that the government's saying this help is coming and this is what we have planned. And there's a legislative process, but we're in the thick of it again. There's a certain urgency here that we can't wait weeks or months for this money.
No, and in fact, according to our latest member survey, 60% of our members say that they may not make it past Christmas if we don't see some meaningful support. And this is why we need a tailored solution from government. They promised it in the speech from the throne, and they do deserve credit for rolling out these broad-based programs. But as I said earlier, they need to focus on the sectors that are in desperate need, and we certainly fall into that category.
So how do you survive the winter then, given what we're going into right now? It doesn't look like it's going to be an easy go. We're in the middle of November. What is it beyond the government aid that simply helps you survive into the spring, where hopefully we're going to have better times?
What we have right now is we've been sitting empty for 6 months, and these are small business owners who drained their cash and who are now sitting with not a lot of options. So frankly, there's not a lot of options out there. You have to pay the bills one of two ways. It's either government aid or it's debt. And, assuming that we are not going to have a recovery until the summer, which is what our forecasts show, that's how we pay the bills. And so we are looking for the government for aid. We are hopeful that people are going to move around, but we're also seeing us move back into lockdowns in parts of the country and certainly squarely in the midst of this second wave. So, we need to see some support to make it through.
So the supports are definitely crucial. Longer term, though, when we think about the best case scenario we've basically been given is that we're on the path to a vaccine. Perhaps by the spring, we start getting it out to enough people where we feel better about engaging with each other in the economy the way that we used to. What do you see in terms of the industry getting back to where it used to be? I think about conferences, the people traveling, the reasons why people stayed in hotels before might not necessarily spring back when we get a vaccine.
I disagree, actually. I think there's going to be so much pent-up demand out there. We're human beings at the end of the day. People want to get together. They want to have conferences and events. People want to get married. I think we'll have weddings every day of the week when we're through this. And if we have a breakdown in this critical infrastructure, in the hotel segment in specific, it is going to have an impact on the daily lives of Canadians. Whether you're taking your child to their hockey tournament, or you're going to your cousin's wedding, or you offer an essential service in a northern and remote community, you need a place to stay. An airline crew, they need a place to stay. So and we're talking about a sizable portion of our industry here that may not survive. So we want to keep this critical infrastructure so that it's there for Canadians. And we do believe that demand will come back and when people are ready to travel again.
Okay, so a note of optimism there, and any kind of optimism is great these days. In terms of discounts that might have to be offered, I think I cover a lot of the real estate space, and I'm thinking about what's happening with Toronto condo rents, and they're coming down. It's called the COVID discount. Is this something the industry has to work its way through as well, realizing that maybe at some point it doesn't get to charge the full price that it used to try to get people back in the door?
I mean, we've already seen those drops in rate occur, as early as April of this last year. So. That's part of the mix. I mean, we obviously have to meet people where they are, but hopefully we can get back to a period where we can charge something that allows us to keep our doors open. But right now, we're just not seeing people travel across this country.
How much is the fate of your industry as well tied to the fate of the airline industry? Obviously, they're two different types of business, but I think they are connected in the sense that the more that we open up air travel, the more people get back on planes, and suddenly the more they need a place to stay that's not their own home.
Yeah, I mean, people travel by means of plane. They walk, they take a car. But the airline industry is critical. They're the cornerstone, as we are. They would be considered a critical infrastructure in the travel economy. And so we are interconnected, and certainly we're hoping that the government sees the need to keep all of us alive.
So let's get back to the government stuff, because of course there's some nitty gritty in terms of the rent subsidies. I've talked to some business owners, and they simply said a lot of the programs that were tailored to help out business didn't help them because they were too big of a business. So I'm thinking some nightclub owners. Has that been a problem for some of your membership as well? They're simply just too big of a business and they couldn't avail themselves.
Well, the wage subsidy support did not have a cap on it. So bigger businesses have been able to get access to it, and it's really been a lifeline. It's been, frankly, the only program that's been incredibly helpful. The rent program that's just now being, it's in legislation, it's before the Senate. As you said, I appeared yesterday as a witness. They do have a cap planned in that legislation. And what that means for us is that if you have more than 4 hotels, you're effectively cut out of the program. You'll get coverage for your first 4 properties, but if you're a successful, Canadian success story and you've built your properties and you've expanded across the country, you are not going to be able to get access. And that program is covering fixed costs. These are the costs that remain whether you have people coming in and out of your hotel or not. So it is a critical support program, and we are hoping that they're going to lift that cap specifically for the business segments that have seen ongoing restrictions and will be asked to sit effectively empty for 15 months.
All right, a lot of challenges out there. We do appreciate you joining us this morning to go over some of them with us, Susie.
Thanks for having me.